So there's several players that I am lower on heading into the 2021 draft than other people are. And so I figured why not make a video and really get into why I feel this way about these players? Because several of them I still like. I just am lower on than others for various reasons. So we'll start off with the obvious one. Number three, Justin Fields. I probably won't spend too long on it just because I have kind of talked it to death a little bit. Like, yeah, people are probably saying, yeah, we get it, Jackson. You're not crazy about Fields. I have him as my sixth graded prospect overall. So it's not like I'm super down on him. I just happen to have five quarterbacks ahead of him. So that's why it feels a little bit more harsh. And the reality is there's just a lot of concerns. Yes, his ceiling is incredibly high. But if you look at constantly what's the most overlooked thing when evaluating a quarterback is pocket presence. That can make or break a player. And Fields' pocket presence, not very good. It just isn't. And again, that's kind of what I look for is not just do I look for what I don't try to just look at what everyone else is looking at. I try to look at what people maybe aren't evaluating the way they should. Again, that's the very money ball mindset. And I think that's the mindset everyone should have is what's getting overvalued, what's getting undervalued. Pocket presence is getting undervalued, and his pocket presence is not that great. Now, I still stand by. There's a very real chance he'll end up being good. I mean, he does have incredible arm talent. Not as accurate down the field as I think people think he is, but he's not horrible either. He's just kind of fine. And over the middle, he's great. So it's like there's a lot to like about him. Obviously a great runner, but there are some issues. I think that the one read quarterback is a bit overblown. Like I don't think it's a huge issue. He does just make some decisions where he needs to just learn to throw the ball away. Like he never throws the ball away. So there are some issues, but really the main reason why I'm lower on him is just his pocket presence, which we've seen quarterbacks completely collapse because they can't figure out pocket presence, which could be an issue. So yeah, that's him. I have Jamar Chase as well. So he's number 7 on most people's boards. That's what it seems. Sometimes people have him 6 or 5. You know, it varies depending on the board. I'm looking at the mock draft machine, what they have him graded at, which is 7. And again, I think he's a really good player. Like I'm a little bit lower on him. I'm not like down on him. He does make incredible contested catches and he is explosive, but again, his 40 time is nothing special. It's just below 4.4. So right around 4.4. But keep in mind, this is a pro day 40 time. So that's not exactly fantastic. And that is maybe a bit concerning, especially given he's not the biggest route runner. And I do value route running a ton when talking about wide receivers. I think that's really underrated. So again, plenty to like about Jamar Chase. Great contested catches. I've heard the Allen Robinson comparisons. I could see him being an Allen Robinson-esque player, but again, there is some improvement. His ceiling is the sky, but he's going to have to improve to get there, specifically with his route running, which is something you can improve on. So that's nice to see. Interestingly enough, there's 3 picks in a row on the draft machine that I'm lower on. Rashawn Slater, who I'm still pretty high on. I had him as, I believe, my 3rd highest graded tackle. They have him as 2nd, so it's not like we're crazy. I think Darisaw is a little bit better, and I also think that there's, what's his name? The center from Alabama. I would rather have him over Slater as well, but Slater's still really good. So I'm not hating on Slater whatsoever. Number 9 on the draft is Patrick Surtain, and JC Horn, who's number 11. Those two guys kind of go hand in hand because, again, it's speed in those guys' situation. When you look at cornerbacks, the reality is speed kills, and if you don't have speed, you're going to be in trouble. You just are. It's amazing how good of a predictor it is that if you get drafted in the first 3 rounds, if you run a sub 4.4, you're probably going to be really good. If you run above a 4.5, you're probably not going to be very good. Like that's legitimately how it works. And so Horn's 40 is a little bit better than Surtain's. Surtain's worries me more. They both do so much well that it's definitely worth considering. But I think that the speed is a really important thing in corners that it gets really underlooked. So that's kind of just why I'm lower on them. You also have Trayvon Mohig. I don't know how you pronounce his name, which is not great because I'm also not a big fan of his game. I think that the reality, I guess he's just one of those prospects I just don't get. For me, it was Jeff Gladney last year where he kept getting mocked in the first round. And I was kind of like, I just don't see it. Like, I just don't really fully understand. I think I watched his tape like a week before their draft, and I was like, really? This guy's a first round pick? I don't get that. It might have even been after the draft. I made a video on it way back. So that was a corner. This is a safety, but I don't know. I mean, he's pretty good at a strong safety at coming in and making tackles, but he can't play coverage very well. And he's not exactly like a great tackler or anything either. So I just don't get it with him. Like I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. And also, this one's a little bit later in the pick, but Rondale Moore, who's at 47. So I guess I'm kind of around there. I think I would probably have him maybe around like 60 or so. So I'm not like that far off. I still think that given the right circumstance, you could select him with a round 2 pick, but probably round 3 seems better. But I definitely hear some people that are trying to say like he's going to be the guy who could be great in the draft. I just don't know. Yes, he does have a great 40 time, but I don't care about that as much with wide receivers as I do with corners. With corners, it clearly really matters. With wide receivers, it matters, but not that much. And in fact, typically getting a guy like Rondale Moore who runs a quick 40 and doesn't do a ton else fantastic, that can be an issue. I also think a lot of his yards that he gets comes from him just making moves and him getting guys to miss, which just won't work in the NFL from the moves that he's making. Like, it's not like it's a Kadarius Toney where the moves he's making will work at the Pro Bowl. It's just not that kind of thing. So there's some concerns there, and his size is a bit of a concern as well. But also, I kind of like just a player. I like how physical he plays despite his small size. So again, I think that there's value there. Draft him in the 3rd round. He'll probably be a guy who has some impact. I just don't think he's like on the same level as some of these other guys, I guess. But I could be wrong as well. So yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the quick rundown of some of these guys that I'm lower on, but I don't hate. So just figured I'd make a video, kind of just talk about more about it. Because, I keep saying this, and I think it's true that like it's amazing to me how it seems like nobody is willing to take chances when it comes to draft evaluation. Like, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but I get so bored when I keep seeing these people say, here's my top 10 offensive linemen, and it's the same as everybody else's. And I'm just like, is this really your top 10, or are you just copying off of somebody, what everyone else says, and maybe changing one spot slightly? Maybe it is your top 10. I mean, I have some position groups that are pretty similar, but I just have a hard time believing that like everyone watches all the quarterbacks and says, yep, so clearly Trevor Lawrence is 1, clearly Zach Wilson is 2, then it's, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, and Kellen Mond. And if you don't think that, you're crazy. It's like, well, no, obviously people are going to have different opinions. I mean, I don't know. How many times have we heard people argue like there's still a huge argument over Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, right? And those guys have had plenty of years in the league to prove themselves, and we're still not sure. And I don't hate you if you think that Josh Allen is better than Lamar Jackson, even though I think Lamar Jackson is slightly better than Josh Allen. It's very interesting. But yeah, I do feel like I don't know. I just try to actually figure this stuff out because I feel like there has to be a better way to evaluate these guys. And unfortunately, that means that some players might not be as good as some people think. But I could be wrong. That's the whole thing about it is you got to take a chance, and people will call you stupid if you're wrong. So, but that's the fun of it too. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.